Yes, and we are live on YouTube. Just waiting for it to load and I'll have the link. Got it. Vera ma'am, I've pinged the YouTube link to you.
Thank you, Nagma. Yeah, got it. Got it. Thanks.
Amazing, great. Repeating it to my Freedom team also. We've started the recording also. We're just waiting for our guest to join, and we will be starting as soon as the guests join. Geeta ma'am is on the link already. Can't see her name.
Hasn't she logged in yet?
Uh,
She'll log in definitely. 9:30 sharp should be in.
Yeah. Divyanka, are you still at school? Please switch on your video. I'm demoting you.
Hello.
And request to all the schools while on the team, please ensure your mic is on mute throughout, unless and until your children is actually coming up and asking the questions. We have a guest here. Wow. I need to really spotlight you. Very happy. Good morning to you, Soha.
Good morning. So happy to be here.
Yes. Amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, this is a great experience. I think you can already see all the kids are very excitedly waiting for you. My name is Nagma. I represent the Freedom team, and we are really, really, really honored to have you here today. And thank you so much for making the time for us.
No, thank you, Nagma. It's such a pleasure actually to share these stories with children and to get their reaction, because they're really our audience. So we are so happy. Kunal can't be here today, and this is a book actually the two of us have written together. And we're so excited to just interact with the students, children, get to know, where their minds are at today.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, that is definitely there. And we are really, really, we cannot have enough words to express how grateful we are to you to having really made this time to be here today. And the entire CMS family, as well as the Freedom family, is extremely excited to actually have you here today. So we would want to just start the session and directly, because obviously we value your time as well. And it will be great, I think, if I can just invite Geeta ma'am. Geeta ma'am, she's the professor, Ms. Geeta Gandhi. She's also the president and MD of the CMS group. So I would really love it. I mean, it will be really great if she can just directly come open her video.
She's about to join, Nagma. I'm sorry for that.
Lovely. No worries, no
She's
worries.
about to join in a minute. And great to have Soha Ali Khan on board for CMS. Truly a privilege to have you on board, ma'am.
Yes, that's amazingly great. So, I mean, before we even start or before we even proceed to the complete interactive session, can you just tell us about, because when we asked the kids to share with us questions, the biggest question all of them had was, how come you decided to write a book for kids and not really something for adults? So this is something I literally saw a lot of kids asking that question. So while we start off with that, can you just tell for our little kids who are here today, why are they special to you?
They are so special ever since I became a parent. And now I have a daughter who is going to be turning 6 next week. So for the past 6 years, I've been reading to her. Every night, we have a bedtime routine where we read 3 stories every night. And Kunal, who's my husband, has a different approach. He doesn't read so much. He likes to tell stories from his imagination. Whereas I like to actually take books off the bookshelf and read them. And obviously, in the stories that one reads, Inaya was not the central character. And you can't control the story so much. But when you're using your own imagination, you can write whatever story you want to. So Kunal told her a story once about how this character, Ini, was the central character. And because Inaya loves all animals, even mosquitoes, so she is particularly fond of puppies. So she said, I want a puppy to be in the story with me. So that's how Ini and Bobo came around. It was just a oral story that Kunal would tell her. And then we thought, why not publish it? If our daughter enjoys it so much, perhaps other children will as well.
That is so true. I mean, that's a very nice background to the entire piece, and so personal for you then, right?
It is. And, we read so many children's stories. And I think when I was younger, of course, we had access to Indian storytellers as well. But I find like a lot of the stories we're reading to our children are set in the West, or have, whether it's your, Julia, there's so many authors whose names I'm forgetting now also, because now it's been a while since I've read it too, Inaya. But they all are set abroad. And there are few that I've read to her that are set, whether it's Ruskin Bond or Sudhamurti, that are set in India as well. But we just wanted to have something that has more personal resonance, when we're telling it to our daughter.
So true, so true. That connection that we can make with our indigenous stories, I would say, it's definitely going to be different rather than just reading. And I mean, no offense to any of these international authors, the stories are amazing, but definitely there is an emotional connect different for that matter. That's great. Thank you so much for writing the book, and that's definitely a great inspiration to all the kids. I would like to call upon Veera ma'am onto the spotlight. Veera ma'am, you there?
Thank you.
Yes, I'm trying to search for your video. So many kids. I'm literally trying. Got you there.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Nagma. On behalf of CMS and the entire fold and fraternity, it's our privilege, truly, and pure pleasure to have this opportunity of having Ms. Soha Ali Khan for a story read aloud session with our kids of KG to grade 2. And the author herself, to read aloud those stories and to create, fascinating interest around reading for children, because this is what this endeavor is meant to be. And who better than the author herself, a young mother who has a young kid and who reads aloud stories to her child, who better than her to be sort of addressing this requirement and this need and creating excitement around reading for our young ones at school. So a very warm welcome to you, Ms. Soha Ali Khan, for sparing your valuable time for CMS Kids. It's truly pure pleasure for all of us who you can see on screen to have you on board for this beautiful session. All of us are eagerly looking forward to wonderful conversations, interactions, and most importantly, you reading aloud Ini and Bobo for our young ones. Thank you so very much, and a very warm welcome to you once again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Veera ma'am. That's great. And to all the teachers, to all the parents, so we have teachers, we have kids directly joining in from the schools, as well as parents watching you today. We've also shared a YouTube live link, so we have a lot of people watching there on YouTube as well. So just for the information of everybody out here, so you all know Soha Ali Khan as an actress. She's a Bollywood star. We all know her like that. But coming to a personal note, just like a personal note, she's also an avid animal lover. I'm sure whoever amongst you have gone through her books, you would have definitely picked that up. And apart from all of that, she's also today here, she's also studies history at Oxford. She also went to earn an MA in International Relations from the London School of Economics and Political Science. She also has a different book. So it's not just about Indian Bobo. She also has a different book. So which I will request Soha to talk about it while she introduce your other books as well to the kids while you are here today. And yes, we would also like to thank, like before we even proceed, we would also like to thank Kunal. Even though he's not able to be here today, but we would really love to thank him as well, because we really look forward to, our kids also really look forward to reading the book and journeying through the book with you today. My first question,
Immediately.
yeah, my first question is, would you like to start directly with the
Geeta ma'am has joined. Geeta ma'am has joined. So perhaps
amazing. Geeta ma'am, we were actually waiting for you. We were just thinking, I was just thinking out loud that it would be great, even before we start off with questions from the kids, it would be great. We can start it off with an interaction between the both of you. Able to hear us, Geeta ma'am?
Hello, I hope I'm audible.
You are, ma'am. I'm just keeping pushing you onto the spotlight. Yes, we are there.
Okay, great. Well, Soha Ali Khan, it is such a pleasure to have you here. For us as a school, you are the utter celebrity, because you may be an actress, you may be an author of a book for adults, but what's really fascinating for our thousands of 7,000 or so children here today, aged 5, 6, and 7-year-old, you are their heartthrob because you have written for them. So thank you so much for coming on board, giving your time and your morning for this interaction. Children in all our campuses, I can see some of them are clapping for you and welcoming you very warmly. We have children here from 21 campuses of City Montessori School, spread all across the city of Lucknow, and they're eagerly awaiting for their interaction with you. So I won't keep my interaction with you long, even though I'm dying to ask you a lot of questions. So may I call you Soha?
Please do. Please do.
That's great. You are a person of great eminence, a great education, great experiences, wide experiences in the financial sector, in the film industry, and with an amazing blend of sports pedigree, acting pedigree, a scholar. And I did wonder whether Bollywood had the kind of roles that could accommodate an intellectual personality, and I doubted that was the case. And I think that may have been one reason why you have branched out into other important arenas of service. One of them, importantly, being writing for children. So, Sohaji, can I just ask you, what generated your interest in writing a book for young children?
Firstly, thank you for that very generous introduction. And I have to say that I was pleasantly surprised in the movie industry, especially now with the advent of Netflix and Amazon and Hotstar and all these platforms, that the roles are becoming more challenging, more real. And I can see myself as someone in her 40s actually in a realistic way being depicted on screen. So I'm thankful to those changes. And I do feel it's not just Bollywood. I think one career at this point sort of limits you in today's world. We have so many talents, we have so many interests, and it's nice to know that you don't have to be dedicated to write a book. I think all of us have at least one story in us. And what really, I think, differentiates writers from non-writers is laziness and, putting pen to paper and the discipline and time and focus that it requires to actually get your story out.
Well, you're making it sound a little easier than it is, because although all of us do have stories, we do not all have the talent to bring that story out in a cogent way and in a way that will be interesting for everybody. So I think that you have shown versatility, because your first book, I understand, was for adults, which was
Yes.
The Perils of Being Moderately Famous. And, just the title itself is a very, raises the curiosity for a person to read the book. And given your background, it was a very, very interesting, insight into the life of somebody in that position. So you've written for adults, and now you've tried your hand at writing for children. And it's not just is one-off, it, I understand, is a series.
That's right. And in fact, I have to give credit to my husband, Kunal, who is also an actor and not much of a reader, actually. But the idea to put a story for children was his. And the story, actually, the genesis came from his imagination and his oral storytelling with our daughter, who's now 5. He, as I was saying earlier, before you joined, that I like reading books. I take them off the shelf and I read them to her, but he likes creating stories. So together we sort of have used our strengths. This book is a project that the both of us have come up with. So I would say that the ideas come from him and the style of writing perhaps comes from me. And together we've put together, I think, what is a lovely series that our daughter certainly enjoyed. So to answer your question of why we came up with this story, it was because it's so wonderful, I think, to capture a child's imagination, to excite their imagination, to also distract them. When you want to lull them into sleep at bedtime, when you want to keep them sitting in one place during a meal, what better way than to tell them a story? When you're sitting in a car on a long journey, what better way than to engage them, than to just sit and tell them a story, look them in the eyes, enact it a little bit. And I find that it's far more effective than giving them a device.
Absolutely. In today's world, reading has always been such a pleasurable activity for any person of any age. One thing I wanted to pick up on is what you said, to enact the story. Now, you're both actors, both husband and wife, both parents are actors. To what extent has there been this overlap? The fact that you can play a part very authentically on screen. To what extent have you been able to bring that in the way you read, the dramatization and preventing over dramatization, and yet dramatizing it to bring a story alive for a child? To what extent have you found that useful? Because, there will be parents listening in as well.
It's interesting because I feel that some people are natural performers and not shy. I think when it comes to reading aloud, it doesn't matter how old you are. Some people just feel a little bit more silly when they're making faces or they're being enthusiastic and then narrating a story. Your child, and I know this for a fact, has no huge expectations of some kind of thespianism from you. They think you're their hero as it is. So if you take a story and you read it, you narrate it, you tell it in your own way, and you just do it with enthusiasm. And I think you try and put aside the adult in you that wants to be very proper and not be silly. For those moments, I think if you allow yourself to go back into your childhood and imagine how you would want this story to be told. I myself, when I read the story sometimes, Kunal says you're reading it in such a dry way. You can make it so much more entertaining. When the dog says woof, you don't actually have to read woof. You can, go, woo, or anything, make it. And it will elicit a laugh or some kind of energy from the child. Make it interactive, stop for a while, stand up, walk around the room. And, really, it doesn't require any kind of formal training to do that with your children.
Absolutely. And it is so easy to draw children into reading, into an interest in reading. We as a school are very interested in promoting reading. And I would say that what you have done by choosing to spend your time in writing a book for children, that you have effectively, you're giving young people a big leg up, because we know that later on success in life depends so much in every field, by good early reading, because then once a child has been set off through the lure of these lovely, inviting, entertaining, wholesome stories, that the child then, goes on to tackle more sophisticated literature later on and increases their understanding of the world. And it helps them in every single subject. My own son is an example. So your unique blend of experiences, you have pressed them into this, enterprise of writing a book. Obviously, you will have read yourself as a child the greats, the Roald Dahls, the Dick King Smiths, the Beatrix Potters, the Winnie the Pooh stories, and all of those. To what extent, are you drawing from those, or is it original work?
I would say it's original work. Also because I think because this is such a collaboration between Kunal and myself, and he really didn't grow up reading a lot, and especially reading the books that you refer to, whereas I did. So I think we approached this from a very fresh, I think it's impossible to say that there are no influences because we don't realize consciously that we're being influenced by something. Even when we make music, even when we perform, we question what is truly original, because we may not be actively borrowing from something, but we are all a product of our influences. Yeah. So I would say that certainly my style of writing, the words that we use perhaps are excited by these sort of young literature. But the idea of a young girl and an adopted puppy was something just that came from our lives, because we have adopted dogs ourselves and derived great joy from that. And as a young girl growing up with animals and dogs, I used that in terms of Ini's emotions when it comes to her meeting Bobo for the first time and their adventures together. That was drawn from my childhood as well. And Kunal himself has grown up with dogs. So I would say that it's an original work, but somewhere along the way, I'm sure, having read all of these amazing stories.
Subconsciously.
Yes, subconsciously, we must have absorbed so much.
Okay, I think my time with you is limited because we want more time with children, but I don't know whether Nagma will allow one more question. So
please go ahead, ma'am.
How do you, if you have any other tips for students and for parents as to how, and for teachers, how to generate an interest in reading in young people, in young children?
I would firstly want to say that I don't know if I have all the answers. I have a particular way of going about things, and sometimes it backfires. I believe in routine and schedule, and from a very young age, I introduced that into my daughter's life, especially when it came to reading, setting aside some time for reading. And that tended to become, as your days become busy, it becomes before bed. So we still have a ritual from the time she was born to today, where we read 3 stories. Or now she's reading chapter books. So it becomes, a few chapters of a book before bedtime for about 20 minutes. I'm encouraging her now to be a self-reader, because she's now turning 6 and she can actually handle it. So that is a delicate balance. You have to realize when you're pushing the child too hard and they will actually resist reading, because they're really enjoying also a sense of independence. And I'm sure a lot of young children who are watching now will understand how frustrating it can be to be a child and to have a parent or a teacher telling you everything that you're doing, from what you're eating to what you're wearing to what you're reading and when you're playing. You have no sense of, empowerment or control over your life. And, they sense that and they want that. So I think it's important to allow them some choices. Having said that, I think if I left my child to her own devices, she would be eating chocolate and watching TV all day long. I truly believe that that's what she wants to do. So it can't just be what they want to do. You have to somewhere instill a sense of, this is also important to learn. It may not always be fun, but it is important. And I do believe that, as it is with broccoli, if you eat broccoli 5 times, your brain chooses to eat it and understands it and doesn't find it yucky anymore. I think that the more we introduce to our brains, the more it absorbs and seeks it out. So I think the more you read, the more you will want to read. And
very balanced view, yeah, very, very balanced view. And one last thing is the role of technology, the technology addiction, the ease with which children slip into spending a lot of time on technology, reading as an antidote to that, as an extremely pleasant alternative to that, which is far, far more enriching. Did you have any practical tips for our students, for our young ones, for our teachers and parents about that? Because, I used to do certain things, to limit the TV time, because in those days there was not smartphones and things like that. But
No.
I just wanted to know your tips for how you are promoting reading by limiting or controlling the access to smartphone.
Well, firstly, I think control is important because at this point, I'm still making the rules, for my child. And that's all right. I feel like she understands that she has a certain amount of TV time. Before she was 2, there was no TV time at all. And I was quite strict about that. I have one child, I wanted her, her to be the best. And, from all the reading that I'd done, I did know that screen time was detrimental to so much development. Of course, as you said, today we have access to 24-hour children's entertainment. We didn't have that growing up. So our TV time was naturally regulated by, 1 hour of Chitrahar or whatever. So now it's available. I think the idea is to explain to them also why it's not good for you. Of course, not too complicated.
Very important.
But, whether it makes your eyes tired, you're not blinking enough when you're watching TV. You don't even realize that, this is what is happening. So certain things you can explain to your child so they know that it's not just no. There's a reason why you're stopping them. It's not that you don't want them to have fun. And then as they get older, I think also not to demonize technology, because technology is very much here to stay. But like any human being, we have to try and find balance. And what we tend to do is not find that balance. So use it for its good purposes. Try and find things that are infotainment. Certainly control what they're watching on television, because a lot of it can be quite scary and disturbing. And sometimes, if you're not watching what your child is watching, you won't know what they're absorbing and how it's affecting them. Yeah. And I think it's very important to know what they're watching until they're a certain age. Which I know that a lot of my parents' friends were shocked, when they saw it. And then in those bedtime conversations, so many things come up in terms of, how visual content has affected you. As opposed to, and there's things like cyberbullying, there's things like, the internet opens up a whole other gamut of things when it comes to validation from other people, social media. As children get older, my child is not dealing with this, but as she gets older, these are things that I'm going to have to think about. But education is important from a young age in terms of what is good and what is not in terms of what they're watching. So she's allowed to see certain things. And she knows that she's allowed on the weekend, 60 minutes, on school days, not even, but there are times when we say, okay, I don't want to be too hard and fast about it, because again, I think she's very good when it comes to things like that. So it's all right once in a while to bend the rules as well. But the rule is no screen time on weekdays, and on weekends she's allowed to watch things, even things that she enjoys that have no value per se to them, and I think that now what's also wonderful is on Netflix, on Amazon, on these shows, everything subtly does have a good value, whether it's, Gabby's Dollhouse, or whether it's like, there's that Tiger one, which I'm sure that some of you are familiar with, Daniel Tiger. Everything has a little moral, and some of the stories actually help me. Because when it's reinforced by someone who's not your mother, who's not your father, when someone else is telling you, I find teachers have so much more authority than parents. So does what they're watching their heroes on screen, whether it's Gabby Dollhouse, whether it's some kind of superhero. When they are telling you something that is also reinforced by what you're hearing at home, then that works wonders.
Yeah, great. Well, I think that our young students are raring to, hear you read out your story. And I imagine that as Inaya, I think, isn't it? Inaya,
yes.
As Inaya grows, we hope that you will continue with the experiences that you garner at each successive stage of her development, that your writing will keep on reflecting those stages of life, and that our young people who are hearing you today will keep on reading those books as they're growing up, because they are roughly in the same age range as your daughter. So it's such a privilege that they have a window into your life, into your parenting approach, into your way of generating interest in children for reading. So thank you so much, Ali Khan. And I hand over back to Nagma for a fantastic further session.
Thank you, Geeta ji.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rita ma'am. Thank you so much, Soha, for that amazing interaction. Soha, we would love to hear you read out from the book, if that is something that you can honor us with today.
Do you want me to read the whole book? Firstly, my copy has been slightly eaten by a puppy who came to visit. But
that is like, I mean, you're giving us real life samples of what's really happening.
I know. But do you want me to read the whole book or just an excerpt?
Maybe not the whole book, just an excerpt from it, so that it creates a kind of an excitement.
And in the meantime, can we just take feedback from the children? Children, have you enjoyed the session so far? If you have, can we see you do a clap like that? Yes, I can see you doing a clap up there. Oh, every single hand is up. Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Soha, and we would love to listen to you.
So this is the third in the series of the Inni and Bobo books. In the first one, Inni meets Bobo and brings him home. He's a little adopted puppy. In the second one, he has a new experience by going to the park for the first time. And this is the third in the series, which is Bring Your Pet to School Day. And Inni and Bobo head to school. So I'll just read the beginning and then the end. So Inni rubbed her eyes as she sat up in bed and stretched. It was a school day, so she had to eat her breakfast very quickly and get dressed very quickly, as I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. At 7:30 a.m., Bobo, her chocolate brown puppy, was waiting for her at the front door with her water bottle held tight in his jaw so that she would not forget it. Bobo sniffed her bag to ensure her lunch was packed so she wouldn't go hungry. He even had a special bark to let everyone know when the lunch smelled good. But there was something extra special about today. It was Bring Your Pet to School Day, and this meant that Inni could take Bobo along with her to school. Inni hugged Bobo and said, "Bobo, you'll be coming to class with me." The rest of the pages are about how they get to school together and how all the other children have brought their pets. So, for example, Aisha has brought her pet tortoise, and these are actually Inaya's friends. Her best friend is called Aisha. So Aisha said that her tortoise Yoda was very wise. He never rushed into anything and would move at his own pace no matter what. She was learning how to be patient from him. So this is how we can learn from our pets, and our pets actually teach us things. It's not just us who teach and train our pets. Agastya said how he loved that his hamster was a bundle of energy and never got bored. Joe loved running on his spinning wheel and chewing his wooden toys. Nivan has a pet lizard, and he said that lizards and iguanas are gentle and intelligent animals. Hulk is actually magical. Do you know that once his tail got cut off accidentally and he grew a new one? He said, and he told his wide-eyed friends, because iguanas can sometimes grow back their tails. Amaya said she loved cuddling with Phantom and that she admired the grace with which Phantom did everything. She also liked the fact that cats are so independent. And then it's Inaya's turn to share her story. So she gets up and goes to the middle of the class. And she says, Inni walked to the center of the room. Bobo followed her and flopped down next to her feet. She looked down at his furry face and he gave her ankle a happy lick. Bobo is like my little brother because he listens to me and learns from me. But sometimes he acts like an older brother because he protects me and he looks after me. But most of all, he is my best friend. He's always by my side, and somehow he always understands what I'm feeling. He snuggles up to me when I'm feeling sad. He jumps with joy when I'm dancing. He barks if he thinks I need help, and he helps me finish my food if I'm full. And most importantly, he licks my face every time he sees me, even if I've only been away for a little while. So I won't read anymore because actually I want you guys to get the book, read it yourself. And it's got a very cute ending, which I liked, which talks about how you can also share a lot of things, and how much actually your pet loves you, especially when it comes to puppies, because puppies require a lot of love. So it's just this little interaction. I'm not sure if you guys have had Bring Your Pet to School Day or not, but we had one in Inaya School where a lot of dogs, and there were some birds, and there was a hamster and a rabbit, and everyone brought their pets to school. And it was a lot of fun. It was also very chaotic.
Sounds great fun. Amazing. I think we ought to do one ourselves.
Yeah.
You should definitely try that. Thank you so much, Soha. That was so beautiful. And we would love to debate on it with Kunal. You have an amazing way of telling the story. I'm sure the kids agree with it as well. And we will definitely vouch for you on that.
Thank you.
So that is Thank you so much. And the book is really amazingly, beautifully illustrated. I mean, it was so beautiful just to...
Yes, actually, we have to give credit to
the pages.
Rituparna Sarkar, who's the illustrator. She's illustrated all the books, and she lives in Bengal. And so much of a children's book is the stories, especially when they're too young to read for themselves. What they love looking at are the pictures. And sometimes the pictures can tell the whole story.
Definitely, that's so true.
Important.
Thank you so much. Now I think it's high time that I make our kids the heroes of the day, and they had a lot of questions for you. So during the session, we were planning that we will get the kids to ask you the question directly. And our first question is here. I have it from Kiran Singh from Aliganj 1 branch. Can I have Kiran on the screen, please? The rest of the teachers also, you have the list. If you can just get the kids ready, that would be amazing. Kiran from Aliganj, are you there? It can also be, I'm just calling out 2 to 3 names. Ritu from Aliganj 1. Princy Gupta.
I think we can see Aliganj 1 now.
Yeah, Aliganj 1 is there. Yeah. Great. On the spotlight. There you go. Hi, dear.
We can't hear you.
Ma'am, we can't hear her.
She unmuted.
My name is Shailali Rinki from class 2F. I am looking for you. What did you do?
Hi, Shraddha.
Can the teacher kindly help her, please?
Yes.
Is it possible to put
Just
the mic
bring
near her mouth?
closer to the mic, please.
Yeah, she needs to be closer to the mic.
You're on mute right now. Yeah.
What inspired you to write stories for kids? You have What inspired you to write stories for kids? Did you have a favorite story that inspired you?
Thank you for your question.
You to write
what
it?
inspired you? Thank you for that question. I think that it was really my own daughter, who's about your age, who inspired both Kunal, my husband, and myself to write this story, because she loved listening to stories. And whenever she was running around the house and we wanted her to sit in one place, we would tell her a story. Whenever we wanted her to get into bed and get ready to go to sleep, we would tell her a story. So we were telling her stories all the time, when we went on car journeys. And one of the stories that she loved, that always worked, and she would sit down for a good 30 minutes and listen to the story, and we would stretch it out, was the story about Inni and an adopted puppy called Bobo, and all the adventures that they went on. And you can think yourself of what kind of adventures a little dog and a little girl can have. Some of them were quite risky and some of them were pretty sweet and cute. And we thought, why not make this into a series? And if our daughter enjoys it so much, perhaps other children will enjoy reading it as well. And parents will enjoy reading it to their children. And that's how Inni and Bobo was born. And in terms of the stories that I've grown up, I think like Geeta ma'am already talked about them. Definitely Winnie the Pooh, Enid Blyton, there was Oscar Wilde, and there was so many wonderful stories, Judy Blume later, Nancy Drew stories, as well as Ruskin Bond. And, I'm talking about Sudha Murthy now. There were stories that I'm reading to my child when she was born, whether it was Goodnight Moon, Tiger Comes to Tea, which have been around for so many years. So I remember, my mother reading them to me and then myself reading them to my child. And today you have access to incredible children's literature, wonderful stories from all over the world.
Thank you so much, Soha, for that. Can I please have Ritu Ram? Ritu, are you there? They're all from the same branch, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Morning, ma'am. My name is Arpit Singh. I'm so thrilled to see you personally. My question is inspired of being a big Bollywood celebrity. What inspired you to write stories?
Thank you for that question. I think that I am an actor and we do make movies, but movies are also a form of telling stories. It's just that somebody else is writing the story, which is the person who writes the screenplay in a movie, and you are acting it out. And so I think Kunal and I thought, why don't we write our own story and we can also act it out? So it's really all about entertaining people, whether it's children or adults, movies, books. That is what the hope is, to excite your imagination, to make you happy, to make you sad, sometimes to make you feel things. So that's why we wrote this story. I think that it also helped that we work in the entertainment industry in Bollywood and we work as actors, because it helped us. We're always thinking and creating and imagining. So it was easy to come up with a story and write it out. So that's why we came up with the story.
Wow, that's great.
Thank you.
That's so sweet. We have a student from Princey ma'am, grade 2 student.
Good morning, Jai Jagat ma'am. My name is Arnav Dipankar of class 12 from City Montessori School. City Montessori School, Alliance Campus 1. Ma'am, my question is, what do you think is the most important lesson or message that we can learn from your stories?
Wow, that's a great question. I think that it's not just about teaching a lesson. The hope was that people will read the story from beginning to end and like the story and enjoy the story and laugh when Inni laughs and feel sad when she feels sad, and really that you like the story. And if you're learning something along the way, then that's like a bonus. I would say that we hope that people learn to respect and love animals. And some of you may have pets at home, dogs, cats, fish, rabbits, to understand that they're not toys, that they have feelings and they have needs, and you can also learn something from them, especially dogs. Lots of people get puppies and they don't spend enough time with them, and they really miss you. Even when you're in school and when you go on holiday and you don't take them with you, they really miss you. So spend lots of time and give lots of love to your pets because they love you a lot. I think that's the main takeaway. Be kind to your animals.
Ma'am, I have dogs too.
Yeah, really?
Amazing. Thank you so much. Next question is also from the same branch. Chavi ma'am, your student.
And Jai. My name is Aradhi Shukla. My question is, Can you please tell us about your favorite character from one of your books and why do you like it?
My favorite character.
Hmm.
I would say the main characters in Inni and Bobo are Inni and Bobo. And I really like Bobo, I think. Even though he's a puppy, he's not a human. I think that he's really brave. The fact that he was living without his parents and scared in a place with other dogs and very shy. In book number 1, you realize that he's scared of anything and everything, scared of noises, scared of fireworks, scared of butterflies, scared of shadows, even things that don't make noises. And from him to go from that to living in someone else's house, which is Inni and her parents, going to the park, going to her school, I think he's really brave. And I also think that he is teaching Inni a lot of things, especially sharing. Like in this book, you'll see that he's given a dog biscuit by Inni's papa. He always gives 2 biscuits, and Bobo eats one and hides one. And then we realize in the end of the book, he's not hiding the second biscuit. At night, he comes and he always gives the second biscuit to Inni. And Inni takes that biscuit and she puts it in a jar. So she has a big jar of all of Bobo's biscuits because he always shares his treats with her. So I think we learn a lot from Bobo, and I think that's why he's my favorite character. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can we clap for this amazing answer?
Yeah.
Children, did you enjoy this answer as to what we learn from, what's the favorite character and what we learn from this character? Amazing.
Amazing, seriously. Next question is from the Station Road branch. Saima ma'am, your student. Are you there?
Good morning and Shazgat ma'am. My name is Gyan Mohammed. I admire your work a lot. My question is, how do you gather ideas for a story?
That's another great question. I think that we gather ideas for our stories from our lives, from our experiences, things that I remember as a child growing up with my dog. When I went to school for the first time and I felt nervous and shy to make friends. So we thought even dogs must feel nervous and shy when you take them to a new place. Even Inni in book number 1 talks about how when she's with her parents, she feels very confident and she can talk a lot. But when you take her out to school or to a party, then she doesn't behave the same way. She behaves a little more shy and a little more quiet because it takes her time to open up. Not everybody is always the same wherever they go. So I think that observing that, remembering how I was as a child, remembering how I was also upset when we lost one of our pets, when our dog died, because that also happens and it can be very sad. So remembering that, you bring all of those into your stories and it makes your story real. And then I think when other people read your story, then they connect with that story and they say, oh, that happened to me also. And it's always nice to know that there are other people in the world who feel the same way you do and that you're not alone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, dear. Back to Aliganj Juan, Rupali ma'am.
Morning, ma'am. I am a lone from sitting on this school for class 2E. My question is, can you share a funny or interesting instance from your experience of writing children's books?
I'm trying to think of I think that it's also challenging to write a story by yourself. But I think when you're writing, I don't know if you guys have projects where you do teamwork and you and your friend together do a project. Does that happen in your school? So that can make things more fun, but also it can make things more challenging because you want to do something a certain way and your partner may want to do something a different way. And I think the challenge of writing a book with somebody else, who in this case is also my friend and my husband, is challenging, because sometimes I want to do something differently and he wants to do something differently. And together we have to reach a compromise. So sometimes he gets his way, sometimes I get my way, and sometimes we argue and we have to convince each other. Why do you want to do it like this? And he has to convince me. If he doesn't convince me, then I'm not going to agree. So we have a debate. But every time we do that in a respectful way, without fighting, and without being nasty to each other, because we realize he has his opinion and he's also contributing to this project in the same way that I am. So I must respect him and he must respect me. We are both working on this project. So I think those were interesting things that came about, which I didn't expect to happen also. You usually think that I'm writing a story, I'll be able to write it. But when you're doing something as a team, it's very important to also work together as a team and give everybody a chance to express themselves and to contribute.
Thank you so much. That was an amazing question again. Thank you, dear. Next, we have a student of Matulika, ma'am. Yes, there she is.
Good morning, ma'am. My name is Shanti Joshi. I am from class 2B. And my question is, if you could choose an imaginary word from your stories to be read, which one would it be and why?
If I could choose any?
Choose an imaginary world from your stories to go and visit. Where would it be and why?
Wow, these are all very, very good questions. I'm telling you, I do interviews every day and nobody asks me such thought-provoking questions.
Yeah, children.
Children really, and of course, my daughter does sometimes. I think that, she asked me the other day, my daughter, are unicorns real? And my instinct was to say no, they're magical creatures. And they don't exist, only in our imagination. And then I stopped and said, well, I have never seen one. So that doesn't mean that they don't exist. It just means that I have never seen one. So I have an open mind. So I think that I would like to go into this world, which my daughter lives in quite a lot. And I only pretend to live in. But I would like to go into this magical world of being 5 and 6, which is the world that all of you children live in every day. I think I left that world when I turned 18, and I would like to go back and look at the world through your eyes, which I truly believe is truly magical.
Wonderful.
Amazing. All of us wish that, to be very honest. Thank you so much, dear. We have one more kid from Aliganj, Malvika, ma'am. Yeah.
Morning, ma'am. My name is Palshi Shuta. I'm class 2C. I have a question. What is your favorite feedback or reaction?
Can you repeat,
Can you repeat
your
the question, please?
Yeah.
What's your favorite feedback or reaction?
My favorite feedback to this book, right?
I'm just helping her out with the question.
Yeah,
Her question
my favorite
actually
feedback
is,
or reaction. I understood the question.
yeah, from any
It's
kid.
also-
So that's a specialized, that's a specific thing. From a child who has read your book.
Yes, yes. I think for me, I remember reading this story in a bookstore where there were lots of children. And as soon as we finished reading the first and the second, not the third one, there was a child who said that I really want to get a puppy, but my papa doesn't allow me. And then, of course, the papa was there. So we had to give the papa the mic and say, why are you not allowing your child? And some people have very valid reasons. Because as I said, that it's not that everybody should have a pet. It's not like if you don't have a pet, you're not a nice person or you're not a loving person. It's also, you have to realize it's a responsibility, and not everybody is able to or ready to look after a pet. If you have working parents and they're not home and you're at school all day, who's going to look after that puppy especially? But it was an interesting reaction because she really wanted a puppy after learning about Bobo. And the father was put in a difficult situation because he really had to make his case and he didn't have a very good reason. So I think that at the end of that, she managed to convince him that she was ready to take on the responsibility. And she was about 8 years old, that she really wanted to, and that she would be able to be responsible for this puppy. And I would like to think that they then adopted a puppy after that interaction.
Wonderful.
Amazing. Thank you so much, dear. We have a question from Anand Nagar branch next. Piyushi ma'am, your student.
Good morning, ma'am. My name is Avni Pandey. I study in class 2nd B from Ananagar campus. It's a pleasure to meet you. My question to Soha Ali ma'am is, does your daughter enjoy reading stories, and which one is her favorite story?
Thank you for that question. She does enjoy me reading stories to her or anyone reading to her. And now she's enjoying reading stories herself because she's 5 years old. So she's learning how to read. And I can see that sometimes it can be hard to read a book because it takes a long time to read it yourself. And it's sometimes hard work. But I can also see that she's enjoying the fact that she's able to do things that she couldn't do last year. And she challenges herself and she's reading and she's enjoying that. I think her favorite stories, apart from Inni and Bobo, because in Inni and Bobo, she's the main character. So I think she really enjoys seeing herself in the book and seeing that, oh, I'm the hero of the story. She enjoys that. Apart from that, right now, she's reading some books, some short stories by Sudha Murthy at the moment. And also there's an author called Thea Stilton. And she writes these adventure stories about girls. The characters are mice. And the mice go on all these adventures all over the world. And they learn about different countries and their cultures. And they have experiences. Apart from that, there's Oliver Jeffers and Julia Donaldson. She's a little bit scared of Enid Blyton stories because some of them can be quite strict in the lessons that they teach you. But she also sometimes reads those stories. But lots of stories. She likes reading and being read to.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, dear. Back to Aliganj with Shalini ma'am student.
While they're waiting, there's also some from Gomtinagar 1 and
yes,
in case it's possible at the end. They've been waiting.
Shalini ma'am, can you unmute and get the student to ask?
I want to know that sometimes a pet leaves their home and return days later. What do you think they do on these journeys?
Can you help me understand the question?
Repeat your question, child.
Leaves their home.
Yes, so he was asking, there are times.
What do you think they do on these journeys?
We could not
Actually,
hear the
my audio is
question.
bad.
Leaves their
because
home sometimes and come back a little later.
I can't hear you
I think
either.
that's a connection issue. So the question is, are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, so the question is, sometimes a pet leaves their home and returns days later. What do you think they do on these journeys?
I think that when a pet leaves the house and comes back a few days later, they are probably having an adventure. And some of them might be a little, they might be nervous about where they're going. Some of them go to these, little hotels, they're dog hotels where you can go and stay and you spend time with other dogs or cats and pets. and they actually have a great time, and they chat amongst each other about who is doing what and what tricks they're getting up to in each other's homes. And they have new food, which is not the food that they get at the house, like when you guys go on holiday and you have new food and you have new experiences. So I think they're going to a place where other pets are, and they're comparing stories and telling each other about what they've been up to, and then they come back, and they always come back slightly different. If you notice, whenever they come back after a few days, there's something that is different about them.
I love that answer.
Love that answer.
Thank you so much. And I need Kirti ma'am's help again.
I think
Can we move to Gomti Nagar 1, Nagma?
Yeah, I
for a
think
long time
this
their
is the
hand
last
has been
guide
up.
from.
Yeah.
We'll just finish this question, go directly to Gomti Nagar. Please ask a question.
Yes, you can speak now.
Jai Jagat and good morning. Myself, Aditya from campus Gomti Nagar 1, class 1B. I have a question for you. Do you like stories or movies?
That's a good question, and I will try and be honest in my reply.
That's a
I
tough
like
one for you, Soha.
Sorry?
It's a tough one for you.
It's a very tough
Difficult.
question because I don't want to be disloyal to my profession either. But I think stories, as I was saying earlier also, stories can be told in any kind of way. You can tell a story with your mouth orally, you can read it in a book, and you can watch it on the screen. I think that there's something very magical about the screen and watching a story where there's music and there's lights and there's amazing performances and a lot of work will go into making a movie. It takes sometimes a whole year to make a movie. So to take a story that someone writes, I can read it to you in maybe 20 minutes. And you can see it on, you can watch it for 20 minutes also, but it takes a year to make that story. And I think that there's something really magical about watching a movie, but I feel that nothing can replace reading a story. That experience of allowing your own imagination to imagine what the characters look like, how they, because when you read a story, nobody's telling you and nobody's showing you what your brain is imagining. So you're actually using your own imagination, your brain is working to create stuff. And I think that that's fantastic, that you can take that story and make it your own. And often when I'm reading, I'll stop and think about it, and I'll reread that page. I'll underline something, I'll look up a word, I'll learn a new language. I'll learn how to express myself. I'll learn how to write better, because when you read, it helps you to write and express yourself as well, and it improves your vocabulary. So I think that nothing really replaces reading, and that's why it's something that I encourage my daughter to do. I encourage myself to do. I take out time to read every day, which is why, of course, movies are amazing, and you must go and see movies, especially movies that I am in or that Kunal is in. You must go and see. But also, nothing can replace reading. So you must always, always, always read.
Thank you so much. Aliganj one is already there with a question.
Clap, Nagma. This deserves a
Yes,
very loud
definitely.
clap.
Yes.
Really.
Gomti Nagar, if you can just get your next bit ready. Aliganj, go ahead with the question.
Ayodhya Road also had questions. Aliganj is getting the lion's share, and I think others are apt to feel a bit
May I
deprived.
ask a question? Hello, ma'am. May I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
How to instill reading habits when me and my friends when we conveniently revert to mobile games?
It's tough. It's tough to compete with mobile games. It's tough to compete with TV and your favorite shows. It's tough. But I think that discipline is important, and understanding why too much screen time is not good for you. It actually has a detrimental effect on your eyes, on your mind. I find, especially close to bedtime, if I watch TV, I don't sleep very well. And sleep is very important. I find that my eyes get tired. And I don't find that when I read stories, when I read books. So I think that not just the physical impact of screen time, it's also the fact that when you read a story, or when you watch a play, or when someone tells you a story, I think that it sort of unlocks your imagination in a way that when you watch something that someone has made and you're just watching it, you're not doing anything, you're just watching, and sometimes or playing, and you're not even really like things are happening on screen, but you're not really engaging with it. It's not a two-way process. It's just one way. So I think that is good also. You can have some time for that, and you can have some time for games as well. And now I'm happy to know that they're coming up with very exciting games and also teaching you things through games and through shows. But as I said earlier, nothing can really replace reading. And sometimes it may not even seem like fun, but it's important to build it as a habit, especially at a young age. Do it every day for 15 minutes. Just take out time and read a little bit, and you will grow to love it.
Thank you so much. We've already exceeded the time limit, and I think we will have to take this as a last question from the kids. We have one branch who hasn't got the chance yet. Rajajipuram 3. So one question, you haven't got a chance yet.
Hello, Soha ma'am. I have a question for you. How do you deal with the tantrums thrown by your daughter? How do you cope with her anger?
Thank you for that question. It's a tough one. Tantrums and anger are very real things that we all face. I think just when you become older, you learn how to control yourself, and you realize that, okay, my crying or stamping my feet or throwing things, and not all adults, realize that. I know lots of adults who have lots of tantrums. So it's not just children who have tantrums. I think what I try and do is understand, firstly, when your child is having a tantrum, at that point, don't try and explain or give logic at that point. I find what works best is a hug. If they want to be hugged, then you just give them something that makes them feel at that point that they're being heard and they're being understood. I think a tantrum is when you are unable to express yourself, or you're tired, or you're hungry, and you just want to scream and shout. You don't even know why, but it makes you feel better. And I think it's about what you're feeling as opposed to what you're thinking. So I think in those times, if you hug someone or you give them some space, then allow them to calm down. What works best always is take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and exhale. The effect of that in your body will just calm you down. So at that point, don't say what is happening and try and communicate. First, allow yourself to calm down, take a few deep breaths, and later, sometimes much later, talk about what it was that upset you. And that can be the next day. Sometimes it's important to get to the bottom of it, especially if it's something that bothers you again and again. And sometimes, it's over and let it be. And it was momentary. So I think, but the most important thing, and how I deal with Inaya's tantrums, is I say, take a deep breath, calm down, let your breathing come to normal. At the moment, I can't even understand what you're saying. Take 5 minutes, and then I will give her a hug, make her feel better, and then much later talk about what it was that upset her.
Very good.
Thank you so much. Soha, we've really exceeded the time in 8 minutes already. Do you have time for one more question?
Unfortunately, I have to go, but I can take one last question, because then
amazing.
I have to go at somewhere at 11.
It's really amazing. There's this one school, Rajaji Nagar 3. Go ahead quickly.
Good morning, ma'am. My name is Adviti Chand. We all are honored that we are getting a chance to talk to you. Ma'am, my question is, can you give us some suggestions to become an inspiring author?
Ooh.
Thank you, Aditi, for that lovely question. And firstly, I just have to congratulate all the children for just, making me think so much and coming up with such amazing questions. I think all of you are incredible and you spoke so well and with so much confidence. And I really enjoyed chatting with all of you. And this is also a great question, what inspired me to be an author, Aditi. I think, as I said, all of us are storytellers. And all of us have the ability to just, even if you say what you did from morning to night, it's a story. I woke up in the morning and this happened and that happened. Sometimes it's an adventurous story. Sometimes it's a sad story. Sometimes it's a happy story. Sometimes it's a funny story. It's not about what you're saying. Sometimes it's just how you tell that story. If you make it exciting, if you use the right words, if you use the right language, you have the right pictures, it's engaging. These stories, Indian Bobo, are actually very simple stories. And any of us could tell these stories. What inspired me was my child and the fact that I wanted her to read a story where she was the hero of the story and she would love that story. And it would teach her something as well about being kind to animals and not treating your animal or your pet as a stuffed toy, as a soft toy that you play with and that you get a new one and then you forget. I wanted her to get that lesson. Kunal and I wrote this together. And I think that that's what really inspired us. And I think that all of you are storytellers and all of you can equally tell a story like this tomorrow, if not today.
Thank you so much. That was really beautiful. To slowly wind up and end this session, Veera ma'am, over to you. Yes, Veera ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Nagma. I think this was absolutely amazing, matchless, I should think. And kids, can we clap silently for Soha ma'am for being here? This was absolutely outstanding, out of the world experience for all of us, Soha. And thanks for being here and really indulging in the way you took up the questions that were put to you by our children. I mean, they were so engaging. Your responses were so engaging. Not just about reading and the joy of reading that you talked about so beautifully and so valuably, but also the fact that you sort of imparted very important lessons of life in terms of, how important it is to have good teamwork and coordination among people. And most importantly, for kids such as these who are young and, anything between 5 to 7 years of age, when they start to slip into tantrums, how they should go about controlling their tantrums, calming themselves down,
Yes.
those kind of lessons. And the fact that imagination is so, so important. To take off on a flight of imagination of your own while you're reading something and sort of enjoying that and luxuriating in that kind of an experience, so beautifully put across to these children. So how we can't begin to tell you how thankful and grateful we are to you for teaching our children these important lessons, not just of, around your books, which you have authored, but so generously and magnanimously imparting those valuable lessons of life, not just to the children, perhaps all of us adults who are also on this platform. So thank you so, so much for being here, sparing your valuable time with CMS, for the faculty, the children, our very own president and managing director, Professor Geeta Gandhi Kingdon, who is, just holding the banner aloft and marching, and we're all marching along with her, spreading this message far and wide that it's important to read, and just read and enjoy reading. So thank you so much for making this possible. Thank you, ever so much. And we really wish and hope that we can have you once again, or maybe multiple times for our students on this platform.
So
it would be my pleasure.
May I just add, Soha, that, we have a program under Veera ma'am's, she's a most committed reader and interested in promoting reading because it's so key, so fundamental, that she has got a program called Drop Everything and Read, DEAR or DEAR, in our school. And
we have one in our school as well, in my daughter's school.
Really?
There's a DEAR program.
Right. Now, our children, we have about 7,000 children of the ages of 5, 6, and 7. They're all here. They at least have 10 questions each. So you have 70,000 questions. Now, we know that, you've answered 140,000 questions in what you've said today. And I just wanted to end by requesting that we just show the group of children in each campus and them showing their gratitude to Soha. If we can just spotlight each campus as a phase out thing for Soha.
Oh, I would love to. That would be lovely.
If that's okay.
And thank you so much.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much. And I would also take this opportunity to actually thank Mansi and the Penguin Random House team. Without them, the session would not have been possible.
Yes.
Really thankful to Penguin for that. And looking forward to many more sessions like this. And thank you so much, Soha, on behalf of the entire team for being here.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to all
we
the
have the
principals, all
complete
the
gallery
teachers.
view. Exactly. I might not be able to spotlight each session, each classes.
But at
That will
least
take
a
a lot
few.
of time.
Yeah,
So
if
I'm
we
just
could have,
removing all these spotlights and
children, you can
directly
clap and
giving a
thank
view.
Soha Ali
Yes.
Khan. You'll be
Lovely.
spotlighted, each campus.
I can see that.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you.
And should you wish to buy the books with an autographed copy
Ayodhya
of
Road.
Soha Ali Khan's books, you
Yes.
have the link available. Yes, you have the
Yes.
access to the link for
See, this-
purchasing the autographed copy of the books, Inni and Bobo. Yeah.
Yes, you can buy the book, children. Station Road campus. We saw Ayodhya Road just a moment ago. This is Gomti Nagar 1. Are you wanting to thank Soha Ali Khan? This is CMS RDSO campus. CMS Rajat Nagar 2 campus. Thanking Soha ma'am. Right? And we have Ayush Vishkarma. I don't know which campus this is. CMS Anand Nagar campus. Children, do you want to thank Soha ma'am? Yes. Thank you ever so much. So this is Rajajipuram 1 campus. We can see the teacher. And we can just about see some of the children as well. So Gomti Nagar 1, class 1B. Thanking Soha ma'am. Lovely. And this is Gauri Ahuja from not sure which campus. And we have lots of thank yous coming in on the panel from Kanpur Road campus. This is Anand Nagar campus, KG class. This is Rajajipuram campus 3. Yes, you're on screen. Thank you, Soha ma'am. Gomti Nagar 1, class 2. Thanking Soha ma'am. Wonderful.
Amazing. That's great. And with that, I feel we should
Thank you to
slowly.
Nagma.
Ayodhya
Special
Road.
thank you to Nagma for the
Yeah.
wonderful event that you put together.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Loved
so
it.
much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Soha ma'am.
Thank you guys so much. And
Okay.
hopefully we'll meet again soon.
Yeah, we need
Be
to.
lovely.
We'll look forward to that
That'd
as
be
well.
amazing. We wait for
Thank
your
you so
next
much.
book as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Love
everybody.
now,
Thank you so much
Soha.
for the sorry for the extra time.
Not
And
at all.
everybody, thank you so much. Happy reading.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nagma. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello.